Morning. It's been a while, but today I've got the beast out. Good to cycle. I feel like there should be like a maximum height thing somewhere. And now it's raining. Yeah. Let's go. So Beeching's last cut. Well, we'll address that towards the end of the video because there is a question for you. However, in the meantime, let's explore the Bridport branch line. I was led to believe 80% of this was now cyclable, including this top arch. So if you have a look on a map, there is a semicircle where the branch starts at Maiden Newton. Maiden meaning new or early, so new town. Anyway, so this is almost the top end of that archway, the curve, and it's just here. But there's nothing down either side. The pathway's closed from the station, so you can't get from the station around this curve, and here you wouldn't be able to cycle here anyway. So let's press on and see if there's anything else we can see, and we'll start telling you the story of Beeching's last cut. So in 1857 the railways reached Weymouth, just to our east. With the news of this line's construction, Bridport Railway Company formed even before that main line had reached Weymouth, and of course Maiden Newton back here where this line would connect. I had no intention on driving sections of this line because I thought quite a lot of it was cyclable. So about 10 miles I think I thought I could do that and back on a bike, but so far we're now at Toller Station, Toller Disused Station, and there is no cycle path whatsoever, apart from extremely narrow roads, which again we'll come to a bit later in the video. But for the meantime, here's Toller. Interesting feature of the bridge above Toller are these bridge abutments, the toppers, very similar to things like the Great Central Railway, and there's 6 of them on this bridge. So I wonder if it was inspired by some of these earlier designs. So there I was moaning about the lack of cyclable track bed, and I've just found this path ahead of me. However, please keep off new path surface bedding in. So this is great, but I really have come at the wrong time. The thoughts there, and obviously in future it will be an excellent route for cycles, walkers, cyclists, cycles. So this is Powerstock Nature Reserve. Now I stopped here because I thought I might be able to cycle, maybe the rest of the route. But again, just ahead of me, wow, ahead of me is another sign saying you can't go on the route. So that's fine. But ahead of me is also an extremely deep flood in the road, which is strange because the river there behind me is lower than the flood. So I feel like a bit of a post 10 coming on here. Maybe I should maybe we should try a post 10 before we get back on the abandoned railway trail. Yeah, so closed the pathway back towards Toller and Powerstock, all fenced off, barbed wired, you name it. I don't know if you can get into the actual nature reserve. We'll have a quick look at that before we go, but we're also quite excited to see the lake under the bridge go down a bit. Post 10. to confirm my suspicions that a lot of this isn't open yet. I've just stopped at this overbridge as I travelled over down past that monumental hill fort, rather ropey drive if ever there was. And yeah, another lovely little overbridge. And yeah, farm track, not open to the public, signs up just down there. And again, we've got these lovely toppers on these bridge abutments. Right, we're nearly at Powerstock, which is just down that way there. Back in the car again on these really ropey roads. Okay, navigated our way around to Powerstock, originally opened at the beginning of the line, 1857, as Powerstock. A couple of years later changed the name to Powerstock, not sure why. So Powerstock looks amazing. Owners of the house obviously don't mind you looking because they've left a low fence, which is wonderful. Thank you very much, owners of Powerstock House. Now I've come a little bit further to the east, back towards Maiden Newton, on account of I want to waffle a little bit about that station, and I find myself already on a huge embankment. Now this embankment delayed the opening of the line because it was due to open 1857 with the opening of the line of the Weymouth line. So huge embankment, and this is one of quite a few along here. And driving these roads, you kind of wonder how exactly they did that without the use of any tunnels or significant viaducts. Well, here's one reason: huge embankments. They sold Powerstock Station 1962, but it remained open. The platform was still there and you could get on and off, but the station itself became a private residence. Now I don't know many stations like that, I'm sure you guys do, and you'll tell me in the comments below. Yeah, for the meantime, let's savour the joy that is Powerstock, and again thank the owners for letting us be able to view it from a sensible distance. So just over there is all the industrial estates of Bridport, all the industrial sort of retail and commercial sites that pave their way into the main road now. And that's sort of ironic because they're on top of the track bed of where it came into Bridport Station, the terminus of the station, until of course 1883. So in 1883, GWR said, well, this is such a success, we need to head on down a bit further to the coast and make this more of a tourism line. So I think GWR were very clever at that, whether they actually meant it was a success or whether they said, really, we need a little bit more revenue, so let's head to the beach. And they did that. Now, I don't think the area was well known as West Bay, but they decided to call the new end of the line, the extension, the 1883 extension, they decided to call that West Bay because it sounded wonderful and sunny and beachy, rather than the harbour that it actually was, the failing harbour at the time. So Bridport was no longer the terminus of the line. And they built a further station which we shall pass in a drive over capacity because it's now under the road. And then they built West Bay. West Bay is a little treat in store for us, so we're going to go and take a look at that now before we head into the co-op, which was Bridport Station, to grab a quick Sanny. So we're just coming up to the windy West Bay, and already from here, a couple of 100 yards away, looks very beautiful. Despite the fact it closed in 1930, cutbacks meant that, yeah, the station down here and the line down here, the tourism obviously didn't prove as profitable as first thought about 60 years previous. Despite that, however, the community rallied round and they said, well, you cannot easily get to Maiden Newton. The roads are a disaster, as we've seen. They gathered round and the council said, the Dorset County Council at the time said, okay, well, we will subsidise this. And so the line actually continued, despite Beeching's recommendation it be closed. Until again in the early 70s, when it was said to be losing £54,000 a year despite those subsidies. So what was to happen to the Bridport branch line? Well, it was closed under the Beeching Act, the Transport Act of 1962, which pretty much makes it one of the last Beeching closures, despite the fact that the last train ran and left from Bridport in 1975. Now I can't think of any other branch line that was closed under the Beaching Act, or any other railway that was closed under the Beaching Act, closed later than this one. I'm not 100% sure if that is the case, but perhaps this branch line is the last beaching cut. I think it should be a stipulation that every disused railway video we do ends with a beach or by the sea, because it's really rather beautiful here. Sat now up on the cliff looking over the old harbour, very beautiful, and of course back that way to West Bay. I hope you've enjoyed this every disused station. I think every disused station number 43, I'll put that there if it's not. Another few stations ticked off. We will join you again next Sunday, 5 p.m. So if you haven't already subscribed, because a lot of you don't, you just watch videos and get on with your life, don't blame you, but you could do us a favour by clicking subscribe. Either way, we'll see you next week.